Hi, good evening everyone. So today we have a look at the ZAT 2013 paper. We'll look at 10 to 15, 10 to 12 verbal ability questions, and then we'll look at uh, some 4 5 general awareness questions just to give a hand the kind of general awareness questions that asked. So we'll begin with the verbal ability section. So here is the first question from verbal ability. Just go through this question one and give me your response. Then we'll discuss this question. So ZAT 2013 basically had 25 verbal ability questions, half of which were the RC questions, and the overall total length of the paper was about 120 questions. So you can get a fair idea. Uh, there are you don't really have much time for each question here. Okay. Before we move forward, uh, this Act 2013 had the negative marks. The negative marks was minus one-fourth of the marks of the question. So if the question is of 1 marks, the negative margin for wrong answer would be minus 0.25. Okay, so the question says choose the most appropriate option after reading the following statements. Okay, there has been a slight audio connection problem. Hi, am I audible to everyone? Everyone here? I think there was a connection problem in between. Okay, so as I was saying that the ZAT 2013 paper carried negative marking of minus of 0.25. So for each marks there was a negative marking of minus 0.25. So let's get to the question. The question here says choose the most appropriate option after reading the following statements. Uh, if there is an endeavor whose fruits should be freely available, that endeavor is surely the public finance science. There is a widespread feeling that the journal publishers who have mediated the scientific exchange for past century or more are becoming an impediment to free distribution of knowledge. And third sentence, internet revolution is happening, making knowledge transfer cheaper. Technology permits it. Researchers and politicians want it. More public money can be spent on it. So if we look at here, there are check statements 1 and 2. So they would they statements 1 and 3. Statement 1 and 3 have some assumptions regarding free availability of knowledge, and there are some requisite conditions attached with them. So if you look at these, for example, in the uh, check the statement 1, it says that if there is any endeavor whose fruit should be freely available, its endeavor is publicly financed science. But second statement is directly contradicting it. Look at the third statement. It gives some conditions uh, for free distribution or cheap distribution of knowledge, which conditions are not being met in this statement too. So so there a connection between it's really difficult to make connection between 1 and 2 or 2 or 3, but connection can be made between 1 and 3. So between the options, if we look at, we look for the options where 1 and 3 can be connected, and we have option 2 where 1 and 3 are connected, option 3 where 1 and 3 are connected, and yeah, that's it. Between option 2 and 3, if you look at it, in option 3, uh, option 3 suggests that 1 and 3 are contradicting each other, while a second option suggests that 1 and 3 are supporting each other. So uh, if you look at the sentences, really third, the option, statement 3 is supporting the first statement. So it should be option 2. Statement 3 is a facilitating condition for statement 1. No, I did not say 1 and 3 are contradicting each other. I'm saying that if you look at option 3, which says that the statement 3 states a condition under which statement 1 would be invalid. This statement, option 3 suggests, if we take option 3 to be the correct answer, it suggests that 1 and 3 would be contradicting each other, which is not the case. So that's why we reject option 3. See, a question is, how is option 3 supporting, how is statement 3 supporting statement 1? See, statement 3 says gives some conditions where knowledge can be spread much easier, much cheaper. And one says that if there is any knowledge, anything that should be freely available, it should be publicly financed science. So the implication here is that we should promote publicly financed science, spreading publicly financed science on the internet. So in that way, statement, see, money and availability are related in a way. So just think, if you have to distribute some knowledge, uh, let's say if you have to distribute it through newspaper or magazine, if you want to communicate something, then it would be much more costlier and it would be difficult for you to do. But if same thing you can tell all your friends and everyone through internet using Facebook, Gmail, etc., which uh, which will cost very little. It will be very easier to do. So anything which costs less money is more freely available than uh, wi- anything which costs less money to distribute will be more freely available than something that costs more money to distribute. And it just not talks about uh, being, yeah, in a way being cheaper makes it more easily available. So in that way 1 and 3 would be connected. So here is a solution to the question. I found it a bit what we say complex. So just look at it. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Similar question. You have three statements and uh, the options are regarding interconnection of those three statements. Okay, so let's discuss it. The question says, the first statement is, business schools are ideally positioned to point out when an action that provides a benefit for an individual comes at a cost to the society, but in reality, they rarely bother. So the first statement speaks that business schools are in a position, and ideally they can find out the cost when an individual benefits at the cost to society. But in reality, they rarely bother to calculate such things, and uh, they do not provide such data to the society. The second statement, it is part of the malaise that has befallen the political debate on capitalism, which has been taken over by special interests and people who have no faith in real market-based system. So the second statement now talks about some special interest groups, some special interest people who have hijacked capitalism for their own benefit, and in reality they do not have a faith. They do not have a faith in real market-based system. When governments favor the private sector, it is all too often by being pro-business rather than being pro-market, meaning that favorable conditions are provided to particular institutions rather than to the institutions broadly. So again, it says that in the whole capitalist structure, when government wants to be favors the private sector, it does so by favoring a particular segments of that structure, which is being pro-business. So if you look at the three statements, uh, business schools aren't really the part of the debate that is going on here. The author says that business schools can do something, but in reality they do nothing. But that's all. The second statement says about some special interest that has taken over capitalism, and the third statement then uh, comes out with what could be those possible special uh, interest and people be. So they may be businesses which benefit when government wants to help the private sector. So you have to select between statements 2 and statement 3. Now, uh, actually, the both can be true, but uh, in reality, if you look at it, uh, the connection is between these two statements is made very loosely. There have been mentioned some special interest in people, but the special statement 2 does not really point at what those things are. Statement 3 again gives an indication that these could be the people who benefit from the system at the cost of the society, but does not make a direct connection here. So it would be not correct to say that they are necessarily dependent. Uh, Rather, they may be dependent. Uh, if the option 3 might not, if option 3 would not have been present, then 2 could have been selected as an answer. But in presence of option 3, option 2 looks weaker here. So we go with option 3. And here is the solution to this question. So moving to the next question. Question 3. A simple fill in the blanks question. You have to fill here with articles. Okay, so I have an overwhelming response for option 1, which is correct by the way. So, uh, so because if the wolf and lamb are being introduced in the starting, we use a in front of them, and while we refer to wolf and the lamb later, we refer to them as the wolf, the lamb, and also from the fold is a phrase, famous phrase here, standard phrase. So it should be from the fold. So a wolf meeting with a lamb astray from the fold resolved not to lay violent hands on him, but to find some plea to justify to the lamb the wolf's right to eat him. Okay, so here is the solution. So moving to the next question here. Okay, so let's discuss this question here. Uh, for bat and weasel, because they are being introduced, we use a before them. So a bat, a weasel, and for the ground we'll use the, because uh, ground is permanent thing here. So a bat who fell upon the ground was caught by a weasel. Uh, Caught by a weasel, pleaded to be spared his life. By spared his life, the weasel refused, saying that he was by nature the enemy of all birds The bat assured him that he was not a bird but a mouse and was just set free. So option 4 is the answer. So here is the solution. So moving to the next question. So let's discuss this question. He got dash next morning to be sure and had his meals dash usual. And so this dash usual here has possible candidates as like or as. So we do not generally say and had his meal like usual. We say had his meal as usual, like as he eat, always have eaten his meal. So it should be as in the second blank. That leaves us with two options here, option 2 and option 3. Between option 2 and option 3, we look at the last few blanks here. So scowling and blowing dash his nose. So either it could be blowing out his nose or it could be blowing out of his nose. So again, we do not say blowing out of his nose. We say blowing out his nose. And no one dared to, and no one dared dash cross him. So dared through cross him is not really a phrase. It would be no one dared to cross him. So option 2 would be the answer, and the phrase and the sentence would go like this: he got down next morning to be sure and had his meals as usual. Though he ate little and had more, I am afraid, than his usual supply of rum. For he helped himself of of bar, scowling and blowing out his nose, and no one no one dared to cross him. Here is the solution. Okay, so moving to the next question. This is a jumbled paragraph. So we have 4 sentences here, and you have to put them in the correct logical order. Okay, the ER in the first sentence, ERE would be when my uh, I was scarcely in position when my enemies began to arrive. It is not ERE, it would be when. Okay, there is another correction here. Uh, Before position, the word that is missing. It should be I was scarcely in that position when my enemies began to arrive. So just take a note of this. So the sentences are I was scarcely in that position when my enemies began to arrive. 7 or 8 of them running hard, their feet beating out of time along the road, and the man with the lantern some paces in front. And second statement, my curiosity in a sense was stronger than my fear, for I could not remain where I was, but crept back to the bank again, when sheltering my head behind a bush of broom, behind a bush of broom, I might command the road before our door. 3 men ran together hand in hand, and I made out even through the mist that the middleman of the trio was the blind beggar. The next moment his voice showed me I was right. So if you go through these sentences in continuous order, you can see that there is a connect between there is a clear connect between the statements 3 and 4. So three men ran together hand in hand, and I made out even through the mist that middle of the trio was a blind beggar. The next moment, his voice. So his in the fourth statement directly corresponds to the middle man, which was blind beggar. So 3 and 4 should be a pair and should always come together. So that gives us that elements eliminates option 3 and option 5. Uh, between the statement 1 and 2, they are also a pair, but that would be a little hard to notice if the correction that I mentioned is not taken into account. So the correction that I mentioned was I was scarcely in that position. So if you take that into account, that position here refers to the position that he mentioned in the statement 2, that he could not remain where he was and crept back to the bank again. So this was the position, crept back to the bank again, which he's mentioning in statement 1. So that's the logical connect between 2 and 1, which also indicates that 2 should come before 1. And also look at where 1 ends with the enemies of the author be arriving, and then directly afterwards in the third statement he uh, began describing those enemies, those men who were chasing him. So the correct order would be 2, 1, 3 and 4. So it would be option 2. Here is the solution to the question. Okay, so moving to the next question, question 7. Okay, let's discuss this question. Uh, first look at this, the last statement. Almost at the same time, a pistol flash and report came from the hedge side. So this suggests that statement 5 is paired with another statement. Uh, or some kind of signal was given on the previous statement, and uh, the signal was returned here. So if you look at statement 2, this quarrel was the saving of us. For while it was still raging, another sound came from the top of the hill on the side of Hamlet, the tramp of horse galloping. So uh, 2 and 5 would form a pair, uh, where another sound came from top of the hill, almost followed immediately by almost at the same time a pistol flash and report came from the head side. So we look at the statements options where 2 and 5 come in quick succession. We find that only option 3 and option 5 satisfy this criteria. One invariably comes last, which makes sense because one has finally before it's starting. So all we have to find out whether 3 comes before first, whether 3 comes before 4 or 4 comes before 3. So yeah, so uh, 3 says that 3 explains the process of buccaneers. Buccaneers mean pirate. It's an old English language being used here. So buccaneers means pirates. So the pirates uh, deserted this person Pew, and the fourth statement begins with him they had deserted. So 4 comes after 3. So the correct order here would be 2, 5, 3, 4, and 1. So here is the solution to this question. Okay, so let's move to the next question, which is question 8. So we have some a part of the line written here which is in italics, and it is not in the correct gram it is not used grammatically correct way. So of the options you have to find the option which is grammatically correct. Well, the problem here is that demand. The word demands here is put in here uh, incorrectly, as requires is already there, and it could be used for all the adjectives that are following it, all the skills required for a good manager, for a great manager, that can be satisfied with the requires, and demands is not required in this sentence. So first we remove all the options which have word demands in it. So option 1, option 3 and option 4, they all are rejected here. Between option 2 and option 5, uh, option 2 takes the meaning of the sentence in a correct way. So it requires strong interpersonal skills, the ability to think fast, and a can-do attitude. Whereas the option 5 requires a strong interpersonal skill and ability to think fast, but with uh, a can-do attitude. So option 5, though largely uh, the means the same as the initial sentence, but distorts the meaning somewhat here. So option 2, because it's more faithful to the initial meaning of the sentence. So option 2 will be the right answer. Here is the solution to the question. So moving to the next question. The tremendous insight of Einstein was that the passage of time does not appear to be same while standing still as it is just to a person traveling at a speed which is a significant fraction of the speed of light. Sorry, I think we the voice was not coming for this question. So here uh, in this question, the passage of time does not appear to be the same. Then after that, we have to introduce the subject because it is a bit awkward saying that it appears to be the same while standing still as it does. So till now we have not introduced who is standing and who is standing still and all that. So we reject all those options uh, which do not start with the subject. The subject here is to a person. So option 2, option 3 and option 5 have the subject to a person, and option 1 and option 4 do not have, hence they are eliminated. Between option 2, option 2, 3 and 5, uh, option 5 is clearly rejected because it unnecessarily changes the verb here. So traveling becomes travels without adding anything significant. Also, it is more general way of saying a person traveling at a speed which is significant fraction of the speed of light, rather than saying a person traveling at a speed, a person travels who travels at a speed. So between option 2 and option 3, uh, both the options are correct grammatically, but since we have to select one of the two here, so 3 is being unnecessarily lengthy without adding anything significant there. So between 2 and 3, if we have to select, we'll select 2. So 2 will be the answer to this question. So now we have 5 general awareness questions here. So this should not take much time. So here is the first general awareness question. Okay. So remember the countries who are most affected by the debt crisis, are most affected by the European debt crisis, uh, have have been abbreviated as PIGS. So it is PIIGS. So that is a very convenient way of remembering them. So this stands for P stands for Portugal, I stands for Ireland, another I stands for Iceland, G stands for Greece, and S stands for Spain. So uh, this is an abbreviation given to them, and if you look at the options, option 4 is the one that captures these six countries here. So just remember this abbreviation PIIGS. P stands for Portugal, I stands for Iceland, I stands for Ireland, G stands for Greece, and S stands for Spain. So next question here. Which of the following countries would account for maximum petroleum production of the world? Again, most people would not know exactly which are the exact answers, but try to make a reasonable guess here. At least here you can. In the exam, if you are not too sure, do not attempt because the question carries a negative marking as well. So one way would be that I guess everyone would know that Saudi Arabia is a very major oil producer. So Saudi Arabia should be one of the options here. Okay, so okay, I'm sorry. Every option here has Saudi Arabia. So Russia is also a major producer. If you have a knowledge, then it supplies to a lot of countries in Europe, and there has been some politics played over also this thing, but that's a separate issue. So Russia should be one of the answers here. Anyway, it's not a very easy question to tackle. So let's look at the answer here. The answer is option 2, which included the top 5 countries here. So this is the data taken from Wikipedia. So Russia, Saudi Arabia, United States, Iran, and China are the top 5 producers of oil in the world. No, all of these countries are not OPEC. US is definitely not OPEC. Russia is definitely not OPEC. And I believe China is also not OPEC. OPEC is primarily formed of Middle Eastern countries. So it was a cartel, very powerful cartel in 70s, so not so powerful right now. So next question here. Again, a very related financial kind of question. One was related to financial crisis, and this is a bit related to financial history. And I would say not very easy questions to answer again. So let me tell you a history about it. Uh, after the World War and when Europe was in a poised for growth after so much destruction, the world leaders came up with the idea of having the financial institutions at a global scale. So they met as this place called Bretton Woods. and they came up with some organizations to look after the world financial health. So IMF stands for IMF stands for uh, International Monetary Fund, and World Bank is another financial institution. So these two are the institutions that belong to Bretton Woods Institute. Doha Round is a at Doha Round is a part of part of WTO. It's a conference that is going on right now, that is known as Doha Round. IBRD, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, that is a part of World Bank, and the UNESCO is a specialized agency of United Nations, which is not related to uh, financial financial dealings of the world, and hence not as a Bretton Woods Institute. WTO, in a sense, looks after the world financial system, but it is not directly related to finance. It was formed much later after IMF and the World Bank. It was formed in 1995, WTO. So WTO is not a Bretton Woods institution. So IMF and World Bank are the answer for this question. So option 1 is the answer. So which of the following countries meet more than 1/4 of their energy requirement from nuclear power? Again, a very fact-based question. Many people would not know the answer, but if you keep informed, then you would know that France is one of the major producers of nuclear power in the world, or more than 3/4 of its energy requirements are met by nuclear energy. Although that proportion is coming down right now, but still nuclear energy forms a major portion of France's energy basket. So France should definitely be in the answer. And if you know that India's energy basket, then you would know that we do not produce more than 3 to 4% of our energy requirements. Uh, that 3 to 4% of our energy requirements that come from nuclear energy. So India would definitely not be in the answer. See, countries like US and Russia are bound to confuse people here, because US and Russia, when we think of nuclear weapons, nuclear things, US and Russia immediately strike to mind. But the truth is that uh, Korea does not have nuclear weapons, but it has nuclear reactors where it produces electricity. So having nuclear weapon and having nuclear power plants are completely different things. So US meets a lot of its energy requirement by hydroelectricity. A lot of energy is produced on Niagara waterfalls, and surprisingly, US does not meet more than 1/4 of its energy requirement from nuclear power. The correct answer here is option 2, France, Ukraine, Sweden, and Korea. So, yeah. Yeah, you can see that how much general awareness questions uh, that how much general awareness questions that that is throwing up is close to financing. So again, this is related to the stock exchanges of these countries. So you have to match, you have to find the option where which gives the correct stock exchange combination. Okay, so in this question, if you try to answer your question using India here, so it would not be correct. Uh, NSE National Stock Exchange, BSE Bombay Stock Exchange, and MCX Multi Commodity Exchange. All of these are exchanges that operate in India. So the correct answer here is option one. Shenzhen is in China. NSE National Stock Exchange for India. SGX Singapore Exchange, that is in Singapore. DAX is in Germany. I do not know the exact full form, but D stands for Deutsche. So uh, German things are in Deutsch. So the previous currency of Germany was Deutschmark. So DAX is for Germany. Uh, yeah. So that is all for today's class. I hope you got to learn certain patterns here, especially in the general awareness part. So there's still time for that exam. Start to reading at least business part of newspaper. So there are some questions that keep popping up from that. Yeah, answer is the first one. Shenzhen, China, NSE India, SGX Singapore Exchange. DAX is for Germany. Okay, so that is all for today's class. Third and fourth, renal third and fourth is for general awareness uh, or it is English third and fourth. Okay, so here is the third question.